Welcome to the SOA's final interactive leader session of 2011. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Pat Gould, Managing Director of Marketing and Communications at the SOA. If you need technical assistance at any time during this webinar, just click the live support button in the bottom left area of your screen or send an email to soa@compartners.com. You can also download the slides by clicking on the download presentation button next to the live support button, again at the bottom left. I'd like to introduce the SOA leaders on today's call. We have Brad Smith, President of the SOA, Tonya Manning, President-elect of the SOA, as well as Greg Heydrich, the SOA Executive Director. Today, Brad is going to kick off this session by providing an update on the proposed consolidation exploration of the U.S.-based actuarial organizations. Then Tonya and Brad will give an overview of the SOA's strategic initiatives for 2012. Brad will then talk about how the SOA is increasing services to members in Canada and the Asia-Pacific region. And Tonya will wrap up the presentation with a word about joining an SOA section and a new offer of a coupon good towards an SOA webcast. Finally, we will allow 25 to 30 minutes for questions that you can submit during this webinar, as well as some that were submitted in advance. You can enter a question for us at any time by clicking on the Ask a Question box area, typing in your question in the box in the lower right corner of your screen. Be sure to click the Go button next to the box to submit the question. If you don't have a specific question, please feel free to ask us to address a general topic. As always, this webinar will be archived on the SOA website soon, and at the end of the call, we will ask you to take a very short survey about today's session. This helps us learn what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like to see in future sessions like this. With that, I'll now hand it over to Brad to provide an update on the proposal to explore consolidation of the U.S. Actuarial Association. Brad?
Thanks, Pat. At our annual meeting in October, I proposed the idea of restructuring the actuarial profession in the United States. It's generated a lot of questions and a lot of interest. Two common questions that have developed are, what problem are we trying to solve? What's the compelling reason for consolidation or reorganization? The second question is, why is it different now, given that prior efforts to do this have failed? The answer to the first question, what problem are we trying to solve, is the U.S.-based actuarial profession has no coherent strategy. Each organization has developed their own strategy, but the profession has not. The consolidation would allow us to develop a coherent strategy for the actuarial profession. The second question, why is it different now, given that prior efforts have failed, is that competition, both from within the actuarial profession through competition for students, for candidates, with the Institute and Faculty of Actuaries and the Chinese Actuarial Association, and from outside the profession, MBAs, Masters of Finance, economists, GARP in the risk management area, has increased tremendously. Lacking coherent strategy for the profession, we tend to pursue random tactics or react to random tactics that don't necessarily lead us to where we want to go. There are other reasons to pursue this reorganization, consolidation, and perhaps if we have time later, we can get into those in depth. What's taken place thus far? So far, the Society Board has approved a motion exploring consolidation reorganization. Task force has been formed. The task force charter has been approved. Task force members have been recruited. We've got a great task force. Alice Rosenblatt has agreed to serve. Mark Friedman, they're both recent board members. Sue Sames, a current board member. Don Siegel, our immediate past president. Sue Collins, a board member a few years back. Ian Jenna will provide the Canadian perspective. Bob Berline, a past president of the SOA. And Clive Keating, an FCAS, will be members of the task force. We plan to meet in December and outline steps going forward. The Academy has agreed to form a task force. I don't believe its members have been determined at this point. And Dave Sandberg and I are working together to determine a date to meet sometime in mid-January. The CAS board has rejected our invitation to meet, and major employers have responded very positively. Leaders of each organization will get together and discuss the benefits of the pros and cons of consolidation and attempt to develop a preliminary plan and determine whether it's worth pursuing or not. My sense is that this will take somewhere between 3 and 6 months. If a preliminary plan is not developed, our effort's over. If a preliminary plan is developed, then each organization, each of the leaders will take it back to their boards for the boards to review and approve or not approve or alter as they see fit. If the boards approve, then clearly members would have to approve the proposal via a vote. If the effort's unsuccessful, I think we need to view this as a first necessary step to what I personally believe will be some form of reorganization, consolidation, be it 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years down the line. Tonya, you want to start off the discussion on the 2012 Strategic Initiative?
Sure, Brad. Thank you. Each year, the SOA puts together a package of initiatives, and these are used to help fulfill our strategic plan. This year, one of our initiatives is actually to conduct a review of this strategic plan and to refresh it. What we're going to do is look at what the strategic plan has, how that has been working for the past years that it's been in place, and what adjustments we need to make based on the changes in our environment, et cetera. So the SOA's vision is for actuaries to be the leading professionals in the measurement and management of risk. Now, to meet that challenge, we need to ensure that our strategy is up to date and reflects all of the demands of what's emerging and the trends that we're seeing. So our strategic plan was designed to be used as our guide through 2012, through the end of next year. In this coming year, we're going to look at the strategic plan and assess how the SOA should move forward in the next few years. In January, our strategic planning task force is going to hold an in-person meeting, and they're going to start preparing draft documents to review and discuss with the board. Then in June, this draft strategic plan will be shared with the board, and in the summer of next year, we're going to share we will share this exposure draft of that strategic plan to you, our members. Now, it is our hope that many of you will look at this plan and share your thoughts on the draft and plan at that time. We really are looking for your input to make sure that we are going forward with the best strategic plan possible that's going to meet the needs of not just the profession but our members as well. Now, we anticipate that the final draft of that new strategic plan will be shared with the board in October of next year. Now, let me move now from our strategic plan to our next initiative, and that's just looking at the enhanced relationship with candidates. Candidates, of course, being students who are taking exams and working toward their accreditation. The candidates are an important stakeholder in the SOA strategic plan. But like many professions, we face competition for engaging and retaining the best and brightest candidates. Through this initiative, we're going to look at establishing a more formalized structure for relating to the candidates. The SOA's Issue Advisory Council, and that's the group that looks at the different strategic initiatives and advises the board on what they should be looking at and how to move forward. They're going to be charged with developing a proposal and conducting a discussion with the board regarding the advantages and the disadvantages of creating a new approach and deeper relationship with candidates. Now, the SOA already has a lot of practices and programs in place that encourage a supportive relationship with our candidates. However, there may be an opportunity to provide additional services and more structure to the relationship. So this initiative would address questions like what additional services and benefits would be of interest to candidates, and what would candidates' employers find to be of particular value. The next strategic initiative I'll discuss is our research and experience study strategy. We know that research is vital for our profession, and we need it to remain strong. In 2011, we worked to develop just a broad outline for the SOA's research strategy. And in 2012, we're going to continue to look at that broad outline, but we're going to refine it by developing a specific strategy for our experience studies. Experience studies are one of the main products that we hear our members use and value most from the SOA. So as we move forward, we're going to evaluate the goals and the change in environment to develop the strategy for the experience studies. Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to Brad to discuss the next 3 initiatives.
Thanks, Tonya. The next 3 initiatives look at expanding our traditional areas of practice and examine how we use our skills to move into new areas. The first is financial services. The SOA board and leadership have, over the past few years, expressed the desire to have the profession expand into non-traditional markets, and particularly into financial services, in order to provide more opportunities for our members and candidates. We've already done research into the challenges and opportunities for actuaries to enter into non-traditional markets. Next, we will target specific markets and identify the steps needed for successful entry into those markets. A working group will be formed, and it's expected that they will make recommendations related to communications, research, and educational opportunities that will be needed to bridge the gap, allowing more actuaries to move into the financial services arena. Longevity has become an important issue in recent years, and the actuarial profession has unique experience to contribute to this area. This initiative, exploring longevity-related opportunities, provides a great opportunity for our profession to develop intellectual capital with regard to the challenges posed by longevity and better awareness of our profession among the public. The pace of longevity improvement is uncertain. This initiative will take a look at how long will we live and how well will we live. First steps will be to outline the challenges, longevity, and changing rates of improvement posed to the profession, and to determine how the SOA can best support the profession in this regard. The final initiative on this slide is Actuaries in Advanced Business Analytics. Business analytics uses skills similar to those actuaries already possess. Most importantly, data-based decision-making. Work on this initiative began in 2011 and will continue into 2012. This is a market research project to determine if there are significant new opportunities for actuaries in the field of advanced business analytics and how the SOA should develop these opportunities. This is an exciting field and may attract qualified people to the actuarial profession. Tonya?
Thanks, Brad. On to some more strategic initiatives. Now, many of you already know that the Canadian Institute of Actuaries is in the process of implementing a university accreditation program. This program is going to give students credit for completing exams through university coursework. The SOA board has asked one of its strategic teams to review the impact of this program on the SOA, and that team is going to report back to the board in 2012. Secondly, on this slide, currently 12% of our members are actually outside of North America, and that number is growing. As a result, the board is developing an international membership strategy to serve the growing number of SOA members around the world. Through our work in this area, we'd like to better engage our non-North American members and also strengthen the communication of relevant international trends which impact all of our members. So the outcomes of this initiative could include more professional development opportunities for our members in other parts of the world and more communications targeted to those members worldwide. The next strategic initiative is what we call Marketing 2012. Marketing 2012 is designed to expand the reach of the SOA's marketing efforts so that we're more effectively promoting our designations, FSA, ASA, and CIRA credentials in select areas, including and beyond North America. This will be one single campaign that coordinates all messaging among audiences, and it's going to help our profession grow in new and developing areas of the world. Now back to you, Brad.
Thanks, Tonya. On past membership surveys, Canadian members have expressed the sentiment that they receive less for their dues than U.S. members. This initiative is designed to increase the value of the SOA and highlight existing programs for our Canadian members. One of the first steps we have taken is to hire a staff fellow for Canada. We are pleased to announce that Joe DiDomenici has joined the SOA staff as our staff fellow Canadian membership. Joe comes to the SOA from Mercer, Toronto, where he was an actuarial consultant and manager. In his role at the Society, Joe will be responsible for leading and guiding the Society's professional development and research topics and content development for our Canadian members. He will also work to advance the SOA's activities in service to members to Canada. He will work closely with our SOA staff, our Canadian advisory team, and the Canadian Institute of Actuaries to promote further engagement of Canadian members in the SOA. He will also serve as a content advisor, ensuring that the SOA's programs, products, and services are designed to address the knowledge needed by its Canadian members. In addition to Joe's roles, some more specific steps the SOA will be taking to better engage our Canadian members includes establishing advocates within some of our sections to include Canadian content, getting input from actuarial employers, and surveying Canadian members to create research and professional development topics dedicated to our members in Canada. The Asia-Pacific region is one of our fastest-growing areas for the Society. We want to ensure that the SOA is serving our members in this part of the world as well. We recently hired Dr. Wai-Ling Young as SOA Program Manager. Dr. Young will be housed in the Hong Kong Joint Actuaries Office and will be responsible for identifying and developing locally relevant content for continuing education programs. She will work closely with local area volunteers in this effort. I've spent a couple weeks last month in Asia and met and worked with Wai Ling, and I can tell you that she's absolutely terrific and an incredibly valuable addition to the Society staff. In addition, she'll be working to establish relationships with universities and other institutions in an effort to promote the actuarial profession and the leading role that the Society plays as an education and research provider. Tonya?
Thanks, Brad. Now for our final slide. It's that time of the year, and we wanted to let you know that you can now pay your dues and renew or join a section online by going to the site dues.soa.org, which is reflected on the slide. We'll hope you'll take advantage of this new online functionality. Now, also this year it's a little different, and in addition to being able to pay online, the SOA is offering its first ever coupon. So if you join an SOA section or renew a section membership or multiple memberships, you will receive one $25 coupon toward a section-sponsored webcast for the section that you join. So we hope you'll take advantage of this new online functionality, as I mentioned earlier, and also consider joining or renewing your section membership or multiple memberships. The benefits of belonging to a section are immeasurable, and I know I have personally found great value in my section memberships and involvement. Okay, so now back to you, Pat, and you can help lead us off with some Q&As.
Thanks, Tonya. We would like now to open the discussion to your questions. And as I mentioned earlier, you can submit a question by clicking on the Ask a Question box area and typing in your question in the lower right corner of your screen and then hitting the Go button. Some questions have already come in, and we got some questions in advance. So I will kick it off with a question for Tonya. Among the strategic initiatives for 2012, Tonya, is an update of the strategic plan. And you mentioned that one of the things that the group working on that effort will be looking at some environmental changes, environmental factors. Can you talk just a little bit about what some of those are?
Sure. Things certainly have changed since we last put our strategic initiative in place. I think one of the most obvious changes is going to be the market changes and the conditions that we're looking at. But there's also been some changes in the actual profession and new opportunities that have revealed themselves to our members and that we can take advantage of. We reflected some of those in the initiatives that we already have on the table. For example, Brad talked about the longevity and the business analytics, and also trying to get more opportunities in the financial sector. All of those need to be incorporated and make sure that they're appropriately addressed in the new strategic plan. We also have new competition for actuaries and the roles that they currently play from people in other professions with other degrees and accreditations, so we need to look at that. So there's definitely a lot of different changes in the environment, both within the profession and outside the profession, and all of those are going to be put together to make sure that the framework we have, our strategic plan, is going to be most effective effective going forward.
Thanks, Tonya. I'm going to stick with you for a moment on a different point, and it was a comment that came in about whether the SOA can make it easier for members to understand the cost of continuing education events that the SOA sponsors, both the cost and how many CPD units they can earn for those events.
Okay, thanks, Pat. I actually think that is a really good suggestion because we have a lot of information that we're communicating to members about these different CPD opportunities, and that includes the format, whether it's a seminar or webcast, what the date is, time, topic, speakers, and competency. So we give all that information, but we understand that you as members, you have to balance considerations of your time, what your interests are, and also economic factors when you're deciding what CPD opportunities you're going to take advantage of. So we can certainly add the cost and credits more prominently to the top line to make it easier for you to balance and make those decisions.
Thanks, Tonya. Brad, we have gotten a number of questions in regarding the consolidation idea. One of them is asking if there are inherently some issues with the way that the SOA and the Academy are formed and are structured in terms of their 501c3 and 501c6 setups that make it impossible for a consolidation of those two organizations, for instance.
Yeah, it's a good question. The society is a 501c3 organization, and all the rest of the organizations are 501c6s, and it has to do with the tax status of each. We've met with the attorneys that have specialized in association-type business and asked them specifically, would this be an impediment to consolidation, reorganization of the profession? And they've said, no, they've done hundreds of similar type consolidations, reorganizations in other associations, and while it will require some management on our part, it's certainly not a significant inhibitor of us, our ability to consummate such a consolidation if we decided to do so.
Great, and similarly, among some initial impressions are that because the Academy is a national organization, the SOA has international focus. Are there conflicts there that are going to be tough to get over?
Yeah, it's a good question. The Academy focuses on public policy in the United States, and clearly the SOA and the CAS are international organizations with respect to providing education and research. A combined organization obviously would continue to focus on education and research internationally, but on public policy only from a U.S. standpoint. This is not unusual. This is what the Institute and faculty do. This is what the Canadian Institute does, South Africa, Australia. So it's not unusual with respect to actuarial organizations. And in fact, is not unusual in other professions, such as the medical profession, where the associations provide research to their research and education to their international members, but focus on public policy nationally. So it's something that we have to be aware of. Clearly, such a consolidated organization wouldn't be in the business of providing public policy support outside of the U.S. It seems to me could develop into a conflict. For instance, say in the United States, there was an initiative to eliminate gender-based pricing, and in another country where we were providing, if we were to provide public policy assistance, there was an initiative to support a gender-based pricing. I mean, our view would be we would provide research and not support one policy over the other. But in fact, I don't think we want to be in that position. We want to be in a position of supporting public policy only in the U.S. And quite frankly, I don't see the necessary conflict of interest engendered in providing public policy in the U.S. while providing education and research globally.
Tonya, is there anything that you wanted to add?
No, I would just say I agree with Brad. I mean, I do understand how someone would have the intuition that we would be moving in two separate directions with the looking at having a more coordinated effort in how we work as an international organization and how we meet the needs of our U.S. members. However, I do not see these as two goals that are conflicting, but ones that just simply need to be coordinated, and they're both important and stand on their own. If you look at the strategic plan for the SOA, I think that achieving both of these goals and moving in both directions is perfectly in line with what we want to have, and overall having a leading profession that are experts in the measurement and management of risk, and we're most effectively meeting all of our members. So I think it's fine, and I think if we can do it, it just takes the coordination and make sure that we are meeting all of our objectives in both areas.
Thanks. And along those same lines, Brad, when you started talking about this, you mentioned the benefit of a stronger unified strategy for the profession. Are there some other tangible benefits that you envision?
Absolutely. Clearly, I think there's a long list. Just to summarize a couple, I think that a consolidated profession would provide a unified and effective voice on public policy issues. It would provide improved and coordinated promotion of the profession. It would provide each organization the scale to build their global brand and compete with other professions. Benefits to the members would include more efficient use of volunteer staff and financial resources. Clearly, the current system results in a tremendous amount of coordination and collaboration, which would not be necessary to the same degree in a consolidated organization. We'd provide our candidates with greater career, credential, curriculum flexibility. The idea that we could offer an education track that would allow incrementally somebody to focus on one particular discipline, whether it be it life insurance or pension, then also obtain a credential, the CERA credential in enterprise risk management, or an additional credential in say, casualty actuarial, would provide the career flexibility, increased career flexibility to our members, and allow them to defer what they want the decision as to what they want to specialize in until a later date. This is particularly important internationally, where the lines are clearly less bright between each discipline than they are in the United States. In developing countries, it's not unusual for a particular actuary to practice in multiple areas, and providing them the basic education on an efficient basis will be much easier in a consolidated organization. I think that the member credentials will be greatly enhanced. The global recognition will be clear. Right now, our current structure and our current credentialing system is confusing to those that reside outside of North America, and I think that a reorganized, consolidated profession within the United States will increase the value of the credential. Clearly, we could better coordinate and offer broader continuing professional development offerings. And finally, I think it's probably the least important reason, but nonetheless something that I think is a byproduct of reorganization and consolidation, is the cost savings translating into lower dues, lower exam cost, and lower CPD cost. Clearly, there's efficiencies to be gained, and those will be translated to the members. I think the real advantage, though, is the increased productivity and efficacy of a consolidated organization, and that's what's really driving the initiative. Tonya, do you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, I guess just my thoughts are our organizational structure for the actuarial profession has evolved over time, and it's changed based on the different needs of our profession and the needs of our members, and basically how the actual marketplace and different types of employment have changed. So I think it's appropriate to look at the structure and to question what we could change in that structure to make sure that it's being most effective in meeting the needs of our members and also addressing any challenges and taking advantage of all the opportunities that we have today. So the task force that we've established is going to do just that. They've heard the recommendation that consolidation may be appropriate. They're taking that and they're evaluating that to see where we want to move next. What is the structure today? What is it providing to our members? What's it doing for our profession? Where is it advancing it? And what changes could be made to that structure or consolidation that would better serve our members? So just to clarify, that's where we're at right now. Brad has listed a lot of advantages that he sees in the consolidation, and I agree with those. But we want to make sure that the task force has a thorough investigation or thorough evaluation, I guess you would say, of what that structure is that's going to best meet your needs as members and the profession that you're a part of.
Thanks. Just a few more questions on this consolidation idea, and then we'll move on to some other issues that are certainly important to the SOA. Brad, can you talk a little bit about how the consolidation effort would affect the representation of U.S. members regarding international issues?
Yeah, sure, Pat. We believe that having fewer organizations can improve our voice internationally by giving our international partners one organization in the U.S. to work with. Like I said before, I think there's great confusion outside the U.S. with respect to our organization, who they should call, who should they talk to, and a lot of times they end up calling or talking to multiple organizations, which increases the work and increases the collaboration necessary. I also think that this is an area where there's some cost savings to be garnered through. Right now, we pay dues to the IAA based on membership counts, and consequently, if you're a member in the academy and a member in the society, each organization pays those dues. So essentially, we're paying 2 or 3 times, the amount necessary to that would be required under a consolidated organization. Additionally, each of our organizations sends multiple number of members to each of these meetings that occur twice a year, generally in international locations, and it's an expense that clearly I think we can be more efficient at. So I think from an international standpoint, consolidation has a lot of advantages.
Brad, you talked about the need for a coherent profession-wide strategy. One person asked the question as to whether that's a role for the Council of U.S. Presidents, or CUS.
Yeah, that's an excellent question, and it's clearly, I think that's where the job is seated right now, but having essentially gone through the first year of my membership at CUSP. CUSP is the Council of U.S. Presidents, which is the presidents and president-elects. I can tell you that you rotate in so quickly, and you really aren't aware, with respect to the issues that, as you could be, and then you will rotate out in a 2-year period, so that there's a lack of continuity with respect to that organization, with respect to CUSP, that doesn't garner kind of a long-term view, and that's necessary to establish a strategic plan or a long-term strategic vision. So it's we're clearly aware that the function needs to be fulfilled. It's just not being fulfilled adequately through the CUSP structure.
Brad, if I can add to that, as the last 2 years prior to becoming president-elect, I chaired the Issues Advisory Council for the Society of Actuaries, and that group was charged with overseeing the strategy for the Society of Actuaries, making recommendations on new initiatives and overseeing how we are doing and meeting those initiatives. One of the things that challenged me as we were doing that is some of the things that we at the SOA felt were important and tried to elevate as a strategic initiative I felt were similarly should be addressed more on a profession level, and that we have our research and our education arm that we are charged with, and that's our primary objective as an organization, but there were other things that needed to be done to meet these important strategic initiatives. And this could only be achieved through coordination with our other organizations who had different responsibilities, such as public policy, for example, with So what kind of bothered me was that we didn't have anything sitting at the top that said, here's an issue for the SOA profession. Let's talk about this issue, and how can we most effectively address it, given all of the different things that need to be done to kind of get that effectively addressed. I too thought maybe CUSP would be the right place to kind of get those issues addressed, but and I'm new to CUSP, so I don't know, but I have never seen a strategic plan coming from CUSP where they have a list of initiatives and the detail of how you're going to execute all of the different resources you have to effectively address the issues and put forth that strategy and accomplish what needs to be done for the profession. That's what I see is really critically missing in our current structure. And regardless of what comes out of our evaluation of consolidation, I would hope that at the end of the day, we have a way to better address these profession-wide issues and strategic initiatives and are better at deploying our resources and getting done what needs to get done to advance the profession.
Yeah, Tonya, it's a great point because the current system facilitates each organization developing a strategic plan, and I think each organization does that reasonably well. I know that the Society of Actuaries does, but there is no overall actuarial profession strategic plan developed, or if there is, it changes as people rotate in and out of those positions.
Right. It's hard to effectively address strategic initiatives when you don't have that clear long-term plan for how you're doing it, and you don't have the continuity of the resources. And that's just something that I see as critical as our environment changes, and we look at the opportunities for actuaries becoming more international, spreading into new areas, and we just have, frankly, different challenges and that are approaching our profession in different ways. We need to do more of this. I think the joint discipline was a good move in that direction, and that was a successful coordination. It took a lot of effort, though, working across all the different organizations. But there's other very important things that need to be accomplished. And where's that umbrella that's driving these issues? Where's that firm plan? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and that's the joint discipline's a good example because the reality is, the joint discipline is an accomplishment or a result of that, as you said, but the reality is that's an inwardly focused issue. It doesn't address the actuarial profession competing with other professions, and it doesn't address hard issues. It addresses internal issues, and that's what we tend to focus on now under the current structure.
And then one final question on this topic, Brad. We've had some people write in and say that this to them seems like a good idea, and what can they do to support the effort?
Well, it's clear that we need member support, and what we will do along the way is provide a clear trail as to where we are and where we think we'll be going. But members can best helped by participating in all the opportunities, such as this forum, a webinar. We provide for input and share their thoughts with us at our website, membercoms@soa.org. You can email Tonya, email me, email any member of the Consolidation Task Force. Give us a call. We want your input. We want your support. We want you to understand exactly where we are in the process and what we're doing, and what you can expect going forward. So all of that is extremely important, and I appreciate the sentiment of the question. Tonya?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I second what Brad said. We are definitely looking for input from our members. That's why we're looking at this. We want to better serve our members and the members of our profession. So please share your thoughts. I've gotten emails already and had conversations with members, and that has been very helpful in me understanding what your perspective is, what you think is important, what you think isn't important. We can't go through this alone. We need to have your thoughts shared with us to make sure that we end up with the best results or recommendations or efforts in this regard.
Great, thanks. Let's move on to some other issues that are important to the SOA. Tonya, you mentioned that this is the first year that we have offered that $25 coupon for that's good towards a webcast when you join a section. Is that also applicable? Is it applicable rather whether you pay by check or whether you pay online?
That doesn't really matter, Pat. The $25 coupon will be sent out to you later this year by email to anyone who joins a section, and that's whether you join online or you pay by check. And the coupon is going toward any of the section-sponsored webinars available in 2012. And last year, I think we had about 40 section-sponsored webcasts, and my guess is we'll have at least that many in 2012.
Great, thanks. Brad, we announced a few months ago that a task force had been formed to look at the nominations process for the SOA. Can you provide an update on that task force?
Sure, Pat. The nomination process task force was created by Don Siegel to review the question of whether the SOA's nomination process should allow nominees to be placed on the election ballot by means other than the nominating committee selection. In particular, the task force is asked to address the question of whether the SOA should establish a petition process for nominees to gain a place on the election ballot by obtaining member signatures, or whether the current process should continue unchanged. The task force is looking at the work and conclusions of previous SOA governance process reviews, the process today, comparative information on nomination processes used by other associations within and outside the actuarial profession, reviewing election web survey ratings and current membership feedback. The task force has received comments from 23 members representing support of the process currently in place, as well as those who want to allow other means for nominees to be placed on the ballot. The task force is expected to deliver a report to the board of directors on its review and decisions, including the process used and principal issues addressed. This report will be submitted by the end of the fourth quarter of 2011 or early in January of 2012.
And Tonya, in a related or in a question about another effort that the SOA has been involved with, you'll recall that this past summer there was a bylaws amendment that was passed regarding establishment of a joint discipline process. Is there an update on the work on that effort?
Yes, Pat, there is. As members hopefully are aware, earlier this year there was a proposal to amend the SOA bylaws to form a joint discipline process, and that was among the U.S. actual organizations. This did pass, and it passed by a huge margin this past summer in conjunction with the elections. In fact, we had 94% of our fellows who voted that were actually in support of this joint discipline process. After the approval, 2 committees were formed, and they are moving formed to move this process along. So we've got 2 groups looking at moving this to the next stage now that we've got it approved. They're pretty early in the stages of the work. One's focused on how this joint entity is going to be structured. The other is focused on what I would call transparency. They're looking at how the SOA, Academy, and CAS report on their discipline process and outcomes today, and looking at developing a communications process going forward for the joint discipline effort. This could include more communication to members on the types of behavior that can trigger disciplinary action. So basically, that group is just looking at better ways to keep you informed on what can get you in trouble.
Thanks, Tonya. Brad, you talked about our new staff fellow in Canada serving members there. Question came in as to how or if we are coordinating the work of Joe with the CIA, the Canadian Institute of Actuaries.
Thanks, Pat. We've worked closely with the Canadian Institute and in continuing to do so. We work very closely with them in designing our engagement program and think this will enhance our ability to work effectively with them. Having Joe in Toronto will also be a very big help. I also want to emphasize, I think when I talked earlier about when we were talking about consolidation and public policy, that our role would be to support and provide research that supports public policy initiatives in the United States. And clearly, we do that today. It was to support public policy initiatives in Canada and support the CIA by providing research. And we would continue to do that, whether the reorganization, consolidation went forward or did not. So I didn't mean to imply at all that the services, the research capability and to our Canadian members would be in any way impaired by the consolidation or reorganization.
And in fact, I think the idea there is to work even more closely with the CIA in determining research topics that would be of interest to members there.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. And having Joe there will get us closer to the members, closer to the initiatives. He's Canadian. He'll be on site, and it will provide us a more direct pipeline into what is relevant and what is not relevant to our members in Canada.
Great. Tonya, we've had a couple questions come in on this coupon, which is new this year, and some people do have some questions on how that works. Is that for multiple participants, individual participants? Can you fill in the gaps there?
Okay, let me try again. When you pay your dues, if you join a section or multiple sections, you will be given 1 coupon. And that is 1 coupon per member. Even if you join multiple sections, you'll get 1 coupon. And that coupon will be toward a single registration. Now, some people have asked, can you get 5 members together and combine all your coupons to pay for 1 CPD? No. It's 1 coupon per registration, so you get that $25 discount for 1 CPD offering that you as an individual sign up for.
Great, thanks.
Tonya, we always give the PE all of the cost and dues questions, so next year will be a little easier.
Thank you. Yes, I would look forward to delegating that. I was wondering if we should have went through Groupon for this, but I don't know.
Something to think about for next year. Brad, one of the strategic initiatives that you and Tonya talked about was this expansion into some new areas in financial services. And question came in, kind of aside from that, is there interest or thought about going into areas beyond even financial services that might get into, say, energy?
Sure. Our strategy for expanding into other non-traditional markets is to build from our core of traditional roles as actuaries. For our 2012 initiative is to grow the expanding actuarial roles in financial services where actuary skills are familiar to employers that want to hire actuaries. Once we gain ground there, we'll look at expanding in the future. I think our real the role of any professional association, and it certainly needs to be the role of the Society of Actuaries, is to provide the capability to scale the successes that our professionals have. The reality is we aren't going to sit here at the Society of Actuaries and to determine the new areas that actuarial skills can be utilized. What we need to do is be set up to react quickly where we have 22,000 members out there determining where their skills can be utilized. And once we identify those successes, we have to aggressively identify those successes and try to scale them to whatever extent we can so that others can jump or build upon the successes of the real pioneers and innovators. So it's the commercial marketplace that's going to determine the areas in which actuaries can contribute, and our job as a professional association supporting those professionals is to have the ability to quickly scale and communicate those successes to others so that they can enjoy them also.
Right, Brad, and I'd say we would also just want to make sure we give them all the tools that they need to be successful in moving into those new areas. It's great to have someone blaze the trail, but we can come back and provide the support such as the continuing education or new curriculums that better support those new areas of practice and research and all those types of things. I think it's just critical that our profession doesn't just sit comfortably in their traditional areas of a practice or even in the financial sector, but looks at all areas that present opportunities for us to help evaluate wherever there's a financial risk. Energy, I think, is a great opportunity, and we've seen other actuarial organizations looking at that. I think it makes perfect sense for the SOA to go there, and there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, and I think actually we've done a pretty good job over the last 10 or 15 years growing into new areas. When you think of what we were doing 15 years ago and compare that to what we're doing today in areas such as financial risk management, areas such as health insurance, like the clients that and stakeholders were supporting in those areas has greatly changed over a period of time, and we're using actuarial skills to assist a much broader audience than we were over the last 15 years ago. I think our challenge is that the pace of change is accelerating, and consequently our ability to provide that support is going to have to grow.
And Tonya, I'm going to ask you this one. When Brad was talking about our hiring of Dr. Young in Hong Kong, part of what she'll be doing is helping coordinate professional development events in Asia. Is there any thought or interest in holding CPD events in the UK, another important market?
Well, we certainly do need to support our members in the UK. In fact, we had a reception with our UK members when some of the members of our leadership team visited the UK last fall. So we're always looking for opportunities to partner with the IFA, and we encourage our SOA members to let us know of any suggestions, perhaps CPD. That may be something we want to partner with the IFA to provide. But any ways that the members feel like we could better support them in the UK or any other country, really, that we have a good portion of members who feel like we could better serve their needs, just let us know.
Brad, as a follow-up to the comments you were making about expanding into some non-traditional markets, seems to be quite a bit of interest among members in seeing some new opportunities. Can you talk about what some of the near-term and maybe longer-term outcomes or plans from the SOA are around that?
Sure. As we discussed, this is one of the strategic initiatives in 2012. We're in the process of forming a work group on this initiative, and we'll be looking at specific actions of the SOA that the SOA can take to overcome the barriers that exist. Past research has shown that actuaries do have barriers in not having the depth of knowledge in industries outside of our traditional insurance and employee benefits arenas. We need to work with people established in those other industries to find the necessary education and communication skills and knowledge for actuaries to expand into non-traditional actuarial roles. This is what I was alluding to with respect to the pioneers making progress in the commercial area. Clearly, those pioneers have established expertise in those areas in addition to the actuarial training and expertise that they have. We need to be able to scale that industry-specific expertise to the benefit of other members. Fully expect that there will be more and more growth in risk management skills, for instance. We already see that with Solvency II and ORSA trends worldwide in insurance and in other industries. We'll plan to publish the work of this strategic initiative by the end of 2012.
Yeah, I just want to add, we've had a lot of questions about expanding into different areas of practice, and I just want to assure our members, because I've got some questions on this, because I am very passionate about finding new areas of practice for actuaries, and I think that's very important, and we have strategic initiatives wrapped around that. But please understand that a very strong and core part of our strategic plan is serving our members who are in current traditional areas of practice, and we are continuing to be focused on that, providing the research, continuing education, and curriculums that support that. So when we talk about these new areas, it's exciting because they're new areas, but we don't want our members to walk away and think that we're any less committed to continue to support those who are practicing and will be practicing in our traditional areas.
Great, thanks. Well, we're just about at the end of our time. Brad and Tonya, I'll ask if there's anything you wanted to say as we get ready to wrap it up. Any final thoughts?
No, like I say, I think the key to all of these issues is communication with our members, and I would encourage each of you to aggressively communicate with us individually, with the society staff, and through the blogs and other social media that we've established. It's only through that communication that we can make sure that we're serving you optimally. Tonya, you want to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't second that too much. Yes, just giving us your thoughts and insights on the issues and initiatives that we've talked about today, as well as initiatives that you think we should be looking at going forward. As I mentioned earlier, we're developing that new strategic plan that's going to be put in place in 2013. We want to make sure that we hear from members and we know what you think should be definitely addressed and incorporated into that strategic plan. We read your emails. We hope we respond appropriately, so please keep in contact with us and let us know your thoughts and needs. Thank you.
Thanks, Tonya. And on the screen right now, again, is the membercoms@soa.org address. We watch that regularly, and we can, as needed, get those messages to the right people. Brad's email address is also there. So thanks so much to everyone who participated in today's interactive webinar. Thank you again to Brad and Tonya, and there will be a short evaluation survey coming right up, and I hope you will take a moment to fill that out and give us some feedback on today's session. And with that, I'll say that I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks so much.